Now that you've read What is an American by Peter Ferrara, I want to point out a few things that Ferrara did that we are going to try to emulate or do in our own essays when we write in a couple of classes. The first thing is, as you look through the essay, you probably notice that this isn't the typical 5-paragraph essay. There's a lot of little paragraphs that make it a little bit easier to read and give us a little bit more space for our eyes to have a little bit of a rest. So that's the first thing I'm going to annotate. I want you to highlight along with me the second paragraph. And then in my notes, I'm going to type short paragraphs, not a typical 5-paragraph essay. I'm going to save that as an annotation. That way you know when we start writing that you can be a little bit more creative with your paragraphing. You might have a paragraph like this one that's just one sentence because you really want to draw attention to that one sentence. The next thing is the third paragraph through 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. The 3rd through 9th paragraph all start with the same words. Notice how they all start with an American is. So I'm going to, in my notes, write that the author uses repetition, repeats an American is ... in each paragraph. For now, we're just going to call that repetition. In a few class periods, we're going to add a specific type of repetition to that phrase, but that's something that I also want us to emulate. You notice that all these paragraphs start with the same couple of words so that the reader is always reminded what the main idea or the topic of the paper is. The third thing I want to point out is that this is all opinion-based. You'll see that there's no research, there's no textual evidence or quotes from other sources, which is also what we're going to do. We're not going to do research for this writing. You're just going to use your own ideas, your own thoughts. However, in this paragraph right here where it starts, an American is generous, you'll notice that the author did use specific stories or events to support their opinion. So in my notes, I'm going to highlight those sentences that start with when Afghanistan all the way to the end of that paragraph. And out to the side, I'm going to say short story to illustrate point / opinion. So I want you to do that as well. Short story to illustrate point / opinion. Your opinion and your thoughts need to be supported by facts and real life events so that you're just not saying things that don't make sense. Oops. The last thing I want to point out is down here at the very end of the essay. You'll notice that the last 4 paragraphs all start with words that we usually tell you shouldn't start sentences with. Notice this paragraph right here starts with so, then we have but, we have so again, and. So I'm going to highlight this and down here and say informal writing as if you are speaking directly to the reader. Informal writing as if you are speaking directly to the reader. That's something else we're going to do in this essay that you might not have done a lot in the past. In this kind of essay, since it is a little bit more informal, you can start your sentences with words like and, so, or but, because it makes it sound more approachable. It makes it sound like you're really talking directly to your audience, and it draws the audience in. Okay, really quick, I want to go back through our annotations and point out some of the things that I want you to keep track of as we start writing our own. The first thing is, in this type of essay, we are not going to do a typical 5-paragraph essay. We can use short paragraphs. We can kind of be creative with the way we do our paragraphing. So you highlighted the second paragraph and you wrote short paragraphs, not a typical 5-paragraph essay. Then you went through and highlighted the first few words of the 3rd through 9th paragraph. And I'll show you again what I would do there. I would highlight every single time it says an American is and say repetition. 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 Just like that, all the way through those paragraphs. So again, when we look at this essay later, our attention will be drawn to the fact that he repeated the same phrase at the beginning of these paragraphs. Further down on that page, second to last paragraph on the front side, we highlighted the second to last paragraph and said it was using a short story to illustrate the author's point/opinion. So the author stated their opinion, then they supported it through a story. Then at the very bottom, we pointed out that this essay is written in a pretty informal style. The author uses but, so, and to start paragraphs, which usually we don't do. So it's very informal writing, as if he's speaking directly to the reader. Okay, hold on to this essay. We're going to look at several more examples before we really start writing our own. But this is a really good example to refer back to.